Good afternoon from San Francisco. Welcome to show number 903 for Sailing Illustrated. On this Friday, the 23rd of January, we have a superstar guest standing by in Sydney. He'll be with us in a minute, the famously good sailor, commentator, and really in many respects the heart and soul of the sport in Australia, Peter Shipway. Delighted to have him with us. Julia, delighted to have you back as usual.
It's lovely to be here.
I trust you're well.
I am. I think the nation of AUS is under great attack today by a storm.
Oh, the weather. Everybody talks about the weather and no one ever does anything about it.
No.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, along with Julia. We are live in Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. Let's get to the starting line for show number 903. Happy Friday and happy International Sticky What Day?
Rice.
Not sticky rice. Does that look like rice?
No.
Does that look like rice?
No.
It is not. Oh, yeah, I haven't shown you the clue yet. Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year, confirming 5 finalists that we told you on Tuesday. We'll confirm them again. And then on next Tuesday, we're going to have pitching from 5 Super Fozy, telling you why we should be voting for one or the other. And that voting will also take place on next Tuesday's show. We'll announce the winner of our second ever Person of the Year, Sailing Illustrated's Potty, P-O-T-Y. Some people don't like
potty.
that. Not potty. Now, we'll do that on Tuesday's show. And today we're going to talk for a moment with Peter about the trophy Jules Verne. Will Sodebo survive Storm Ingrid in the Bay of Biscay? They've just got under 1,000 miles to go. They're ahead of the record, but not by, by 500 plus miles, nearly 600 miles. Will they set a new round-the-world record in under, Julia, 40 days?
Wow.
Remember the song Around the World in
30 days.
80 days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In 80 days, da-da-da-da. Wasn't that a movie in the, 50s or 60s?
Yes, it was a good one.
Bravo Zulu to Palinod 4. They've claimed the overall win under IRC in the 2026 RORC Transat. Of course, we have Peter Shipway, as we told you, standing patiently by in Sydney. He is a renowned sailor and also a commentator in our beloved sport. His views on the state of sailing, of yacht racing, including the 18-footers, Sail GP, the America's Cup, offshore sailing, and much more. We have an AAAA. Actually, I've moved it to the top of the show, Alistair Murray's awesome Aussie anecdote, because it's a tribute to our guest today, as only Alistair can do. John Emmett, of course, with the coaching corner. We'll play that down in the C block. Fewer meetings, more strategic marketing and promotion is his theme, John's theme today. And then the last leg, we're going to celebrate the Auckland Anniversary Day Regatta, which is Monday, marking fully, Julia, 186 years of New Zealand's oldest and one of their largest sporting events. Takes place on Auckland Day. Not Australia. They'd be mad at me for saying that. Wasn't it, Peter? They'd be mad at me. So that's our show, This Day in History, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and of course our fantastic Fozy. And I want to thank our guests from Tuesday. We had a lot of viewership of that show on Tuesday when we had Balboa Yacht Club staff Commodore Peter Bretschker and Super Sailor Justin Callahan. Justin doing a 2028 America's Cup campaign in the 470 class. Mm-hmm. And he's looking pretty strong in that class, a Gov Cup alum, and has become a good friend. I've known his dad and mom forever and delighted to have them on the show. Speaking of P-O-T-Y, Julia, Cole Brower was our Person of the Year in 2024. This year's Person of the Year will be named next Tuesday. We've gone through the nominations. We announced on Tuesday's show the 5 finalists chosen by the Super Fozy. And then we'll have a vote.
Yeah, from nominations from all over.
Exactly. Well said. Thank you for reminding me. From nominations from people from all over the world on this show and otherwise. So we'll have next Tuesday a discussion, final pitches from 5 of our Fozy who will be on live via Zoom, saying why we should be voting for one or another. And then our electioneer, Clark Chapin, will conduct a vote during the show, and we'll announce the winner at the end. From among these 5, And can you name all of them, Julia?
I think so.
Paul Kayard, Charlie Dillon, Dylan Fletcher, Jazz Turner, and of course, Ian Williams. Those are the 5 finalists. You nominated them. The short list has been culled by the Superfosi, and I have no idea. Do you? Do you have any idea who will win?
No.
I don't either. I think Jazz Turner is an emotional favorite. Mm-hmm. I think Paul Kayard, having won the Star Worlds at age 66, was another sort of emotional favorite. But when you look at Charlie did with cancer, winning the Vendée Globe, and what Dylan has done on and off the water in the last year or so, and Ian Williams winning his ninth World Match Racing Tour, World Match Racing Championships. Just an amazing group of people. And another person of the year would have to be Peter Shipway, who is our guest today. This guy is a star on and off the water. I want to welcome Peter, welcome you to the show, and happy 2026.
That's right. Good evening to you guys, and it's good morning here from Sydney, Australia. Lovely to be with you, Tom. Thank you.
Well, how'd this happen? Just quickly, you or your producer, somebody pinged me and said maybe this was a Dolly DeVola idea. I don't know. Our mutual friend, Fozy, and commentator. But you said, could you come on during your telecast of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart and say what the outside world, outside of Australia, is thinking about the race, which I was more than glad to do, and got on via Zoom live on one of your, I guess it was live to tape, wasn't it? And extolled the virtues of what you all are doing down there for just astonishingly good race management, turnouts, coverage. The coverage is spectacular, Peter.
Yeah.
And I said to you at the time, the quid pro quo is that you will come and be on our show sometime.
So here we are, Tom. Yeah, that's all very correct. But it's great to be with you, as I said. And when we do that Hobart coverage, we do get a lot of people from around the world watching, which is wonderful. And the club put a lot of resources into it, with the help of Rolex, of course. And, the hits we get on it are remarkable. And it's similar for the 18-footers too. So we might talk about that a bit later on, I guess.
We are. We're going to talk about all that and more. And to start with, we thought we'd make Peter, Julia, a co-commentator with us today.
Good idea.
Because he knows so much about so much. And the first thing that I'll ask you, Peter, is are you following this Jules Verne effort by Sotheby? Will the record be broken? They're in their final 1,000 miles, but they face a brutal Bay of Biscay conditions this weekend. They're just entering into it. Thomas Colville and his team on the Sotheby Ultime 3 Trimaran are less than 1,000 miles from crossing the finish line in the Jules Verne Trophy, and are currently more than 600 miles ahead. It's 580, I think, last I checked, of the record time set by IDEX Sport in 2017. Colville and crew must cross the finish line before 2031 on Sunday, January 25th, 2 days from now, to beat the coveted nonstop, fully crewed around the world record of 40 days, 23 hours, 30 minutes, and change. This was the view on board the boat earlier today, because over the next 24 to 48 hours, I hope they're still smiling, because the crew could yet face their biggest challenge with a huge winter low-pressure system named Storm Ingrid that's sweeping across the North Atlantic. Quote, a very large winter storm is coming our way and will accompany us all the way to the Bay of Biscay, explained Thomas Colville in an update from the team today. The system's expected to produce winds of 40 knots, gusting 50, and swells of over 10 meters. That's where they are. They're the yellow boat. I don't know what it is, but they're 500, last I checked. I think I took that screen grab from this morning. Peter, you may know, more up to date. 500 and some odd, 50, 60, 70 miles ahead of the 2017 record. But here, Commodores and ladies and gentlemen, is what they are facing as they're just starting to sail into that big breeze. And if you look over here, you can see up there in the upper right corner, the color code 3540, and there's even some purple here that's going to be moving across to the right. And there's some purple right up in here, and that's 45 plus, to say nothing of the Seaway. Peter, what do you think of that?
Well, it's midwinter over there, and Bay of Biscay is rugged. It can be rugged at any time, but midwinter over there, boy, they've got 872 miles to go. It'll be a case of, are you able to slow it down? And those monster trimarans is very difficult. You remember years ago, Sir Robin Knox-Johnson and Peter Blake had the same issue when they broke the record. Maybe the first time or second time they were trailing anchors and warps and everything to slow their big boat, their catamaran down to break the record. But this is going to be rugged for the boys. If they can hang in there, they should do the record. But it's going to be brutal, as you say, Tom, and let's hope they can get through it. But also the girls are out there. Dee Kafari on the team, they're in the same situation. They're very close to where Sadibo is. So that's a rugged time for the girls as well. They're trying to get round the world, and they're doing it in about 50 days, I think. But this is going to be touch and go, and let's hope they can firstly stay safe, and hopefully it'd be wonderful if they could break the record. It's a remarkable record, do it under 40 days, and they've been ahead of the schedule most of the way. I've been watching the whole time, and it looks as though they could do it. And they're pretty good sailors, as we know, and they're pushing hard. But the case will be when to throttle back, of course, in any gale. That's when you've got to be very careful and protect the asset, as they say.
To finish first, you got to finish.
Yeah,
so we'll see if they do. But that's the update on that. We'll cover that again on Tuesday by when they should have either broken, hopefully not, or broken the record. And hopefully they will do that before Sunday evening French time. Julia,
Yes,
what are we celebrating today?
Well, it looks like chocolate cake.
Sticky date pudding.
Well done,
There we
Peter.
go.
Peter knew it because the Brits, the Aussies, the Kiwis, this is popular in your three countries at least, International Sticky Toffee Pudding Day, apparently, celebrated on January 23rd every year. I didn't know this. I'd never heard of this stuff. I don't think I've ever had it. International Sticky Toffee Pudding Day is celebrated annually on this day, considered a British classic by various culinary experts. Sticky toffee pudding is also widely enjoyed in Australia, and NZ as sticky date pudding. Well, and not because you have it on a date. Not because you have it on a date. You put dates in it to make it somewhat more healthy. Otherwise, there's not a healthy damn thing in this. It's all carbs and sugar. But it doesn't really matter. Today is about celebrating and enjoying a moist sponge cake made with finely chopped dates, covered in toffee sauce, often served with custard, cream, or even ice cream. Sounds really sweet and yummy.
Yes.
And I have a video with nice music. Look at the ingredients. Is this a favorite of yours, Peter?
Once a year it is, Tom. You couldn't eat it too often, but it's very, very nice. And custard and ice cream, that's my favourite, but it's not great for the cholesterol.
What do you do at Christmas time? Is it a Christmas treat?
No, not really. No, not necessarily. People do it, but it's just around the not annual, every, dessert. It's a well-known dessert here in Australia, that's for sure.
Julie, have you ever had this?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either, that I recall. Maybe I didn't know it. But you get the idea. And Gordon Ramsay, I leave the video, Gordon Ramsay says this is the proper way to serve it with ice cream on top, and what authority. But I have to ask you both, there's one ingredient that it seems to me was missing in all of that.
Booze.
How can you have this, you Aussies, you Kiwis, and you Brits especially, how can you have this without alcohol? So I did some research, and the top alcohol recommendations for this dessert are dark rum, the most popular choice. It adds a caramel forward, molasses-like flavor that enhances the sticky texture, particularly in the sauce. Goslings, see, there is a sailing.
Yeah.
I always try to have a sailing connection, as you know, Peter, when you've watched the show, but you got to have a sailing connection to these silly things. Goslings, Black Seal, rum is highly recommended. Our friends in Bermuda will appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And Clayton Embley will appreciate that bourbon is the second choice. It adds a rich, oaky, and warming vanilla flavor to the sauce. It's used in high-end recipes, including this one by Gordon Ramsay, and that's why we call this the drinking show with a sailing habit. Oh, look at this. Peter Rechenberg says bourbon cream.
Oh, yes.
I love sticky toffee pudding. So yummy. Mary Longpree. Drinking while you're baking illustrated and whirling. My teeth are beginning to hurt, Commodore Harrington. Claire Harrington is saying. I knew that would get a few people going, huh?
Yes.
Wouldn't it? Well, we have to try that, Julia.
Yep.
We have to try that. And if not at Christmas, some other time. Okay, Shippo, let's go on here, Julia. Let's carry on in praise of performance because the RORC's Transat race we told you about on Tuesday, we not only have a first to finish, but we now have a corrected first overall under the IRC. This was the boat that was first to finish, this radical new Raven, a Baltic 111 skippered by Damien Dershon, French gentleman. And they just flew. They flew to the finish. And this is, I was going to ask you, Peter, maybe I still will. At 111 feet, I don't know if that's LOA or on the waterline, but I don't believe the boat would be eligible on length alone for Sydney Hobart, would it?
That's correct, yes. There's a 100-foot limit at the moment, Tom, on boats for the Hobart race. So, no, she wouldn't be eligible. The foils, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I see she's got an IRC rating of about 1.93 or something like that. She's up there, obviously, with the maxi, the 100-footer maxi rating. But, yeah, phenomenal boat. And Tony Mutter was on board. He was on board Law Connect for the recent Sydney Hobart race. Robbie Naismith, great New Zealand yacht, on board. Will Oxley, Australian, he was navigating.
He was a navigator. I saw that, yep.
Yeah, phenomenal boat. And they said, when I spoke to the boys at Christmas time about the boat, Tony said it was just a phenomenal machine. It's taken a long while to get it right, he said, to work out how to sail it properly with the foils and the sail configurations. We said they think they've just about got it right. And, of course, a couple of weeks later, they've broken this transatlantic record. Well,
and it's got water ballast, too, I believe.
Yes, it has. Yep.
So it's powered up. It's some kind of machine, and they were first to finish. Bravo Zulu to them. We celebrated them on Tuesday's show. The 34-meter, that's 111 feet, Raven has rewritten the limits of monohull offshore performance, taking monohull line honors, winning the IMA Transatlantic Trophy and setting a new monohull race record in the 2026 Rourke Transat race from Lanzarote to Antigua. And now today we've got first uncorrected overall winner, Palinade 4 wins the Rourke Transat overall, and this is a father-son duo. While competitors remain racing at sea, none can now beat Palinade 4's IRC-corrected time, securing overall victory in one of offshore sailing's most demanding ocean races. The French-flagged Mach 50 is the type of boat, completed the 3,000-mile race from Lanzarote to Antigua in an elapsed time of 8 days, 5 hours, 55 minutes and change, a standout performance. This is from the RORC press release. The result marks a major milestone for both the Magre family and the innovative Mach 50 project, which has delivered overall victory in only its second offshore race. Its only second race following its debut in the Rolex Fastnet race. There's the father-son duo. For owner Olivier Magre on the left, the achievement carried a deeply personal significance. Quote, "For me as a father, this is a fantastic dream. To win the Rourke Transatlantic race with my son is the greatest result I could imagine in sailing." We keep going back to families.
Yes.
Isn't that nice?
Absolutely.
And I think we all totally agree with how nice that is. Olivier Magre sailed, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Magre, sailed as part of the Palinade crew, balancing his role as owner and that of a proud papa and committed team member. There they are on the back of the boat with the trophy. For skipper Antoine Margret and crew member and designer Sam Monod, the victory represents a decisive validation of the Mach 50 concept. This is an interesting boat. Scow bow, as we said, canting keel as well, and a designed and rated under IRC. Quote, this race is a very strong first proof of concept, said Antoine. We believe in the potential of the scow bow in IRC. But it had to be proven in real offshore conditions. Winning overall here really sets the bar for what comes next. Antoine highlighted that the result opens the door to head-to-head competition with some of the fastest IRC platforms in the world for the Rourke Caribbean 600 next month. Quote, now we can look forward to racing against the Carkeek 50s, the TP52s, the Volvo 70s, and the others. This race shows that Palinade 4 belongs in that company. And Julia, you would be disappointed
If I didn't have a video.
if I didn't have a video.
It's a fantastic dream to win the Transat du Rourke 2026. For a father of Antoine, that's the main dream I can have about sail races. So it's fantastic. And I'm very proud of myself.
So for us, the Rourke Transatlantic race was a big event. It was our leading one to really see the potential of the boat.
I'm Sam Manuel. I'm the yacht designer of Palinade 4. When you race the boat, you actually feel the beast. You can really feel what the guts of the boat are. And especially during this transat, because we had some strong winds downwind, sometimes some very choppy winds. So it was really cool to understand better the dynamics with waves, etc. It was a steep learning curve. I got plenty of ideas on how to improve it and how to make it faster.
This is our second boat that we build with Sam. So it definitely builds strong connections.
And the crew, they are all friends of Antoine and friends of me. The mix was fantastic.
All the crew, really, at the end, we were jibing like it's picnic.
We were focused on our own race. Yes. And we really go into the up-on-ours, our routings, and really focusing on trimming and learning. And on this boat, having a scow bow means a lot less resistance at the tiller, which means the helming is easier.
The good thing about the tiller is that you really get the feel for the boat. And especially downwind, you need, it's micro movement sometimes to go nicely through waves. We were asking ourselves during the race, because obviously sometimes it's quite nice to be standing alone on the driving, so you have a very good vision of the waves, of the boat, how it moves. Nevertheless, the micro feeling of the tiller is really nice.
That's the only difficulty, is being lateral versus frontal. So it's still within debate, but in terms of feeling, you really feel like you're driving, like steering your laser, unfortunately enough.
I'm still mixed. I still don't know what's the best solution.
Really, really nice to be here, and we were lucky with the conditions. The finish, which was incredible, it was so much fun. And then the other one for me was in the dark of night, the surfs, when the boat just takes off and you're literally just driving, like you feel like you're driving a laser. But the thing is that you don't know where you're going, so you're just watching the numbers, just following your angles, and the boat just keeps riding the waves and going, and yeah, it doesn't get old. So for us, the Rourke Transatlantic race was a big event. It was our leading one to really see the potential of the boat, and we managed to push the boat hard. The feelings was intensity, but we kept up. We had a very strong crew and very pleased with the results.
Nice video, eh, Julia? Huh? Great stuff. There's the crew. And we just want to always, as you all know, we love to give the crew names. We we get grumpy when press releases and organizers don't put the crew names in. The Promenade 4 crew combined experience with cohesion throughout the crossing. Promenade 4 crew was Olivier Magre, the owner, Antoine, the son, who was the skipper, Sam Menard, the designer, Jean-Philippe Saliou, Pablo Santerde, Simone Coster, Richard Fromentine. What a great crew, great stuff. What do you think, Peter? Was this some kind of a super boat or what?
Well, yeah, it's the way of the future, perhaps. And I know Pablo there, the guy on the left, he was out here racing in the Sydney Hobart race. He's a gun Spanish short-handed sailor. He was brought out here to sail aboard Mistral with Rupert Henry. Unfortunately, they retired from the Hobart race. And he sent me a note. I sent him a text after the race to congratulate him. And he said, thank you, Peter. It's been a great race. The boat is an amazing machine, really cool to sail. We were lucky with the weather conditions with pretty good trade winds, so we can't complain. All the best, Pablo. So, downwind, I mean, you just saw it there. It's going to be an absolute rocket. And bring it out to a Hobart race and you get a good nor'easter all the way. It's going to take some beating. It rates pretty well. Rates around about where the TP52s rate on IRC. It rates at 1.397. So it's competitive rating. A good uphill test to win would be to see how it would go. Would be interesting. But downwind, across the wind, I think there's a lot to like about this sort of boat. And of course, we're seeing that with the Class 40s in Europe, that they're basically that design, and they are potent weapons downwind. At upwind, they may be able to hang in, but I just think if they can get downwind conditions, as I said earlier, they would take a power of beating in a long race, and we've just seen that in the transatlantic race.
If you're just joining us, live from Sydney is our special guest today, the celebrated sailor and commentator and expert on all things, at least offshore, if not our entire beloved sport. And we're really doing a state of the sport with Peter Shipway today. Delighted, Peter, to have you again with us. Comments rolling in here. Question for you, a couple questions. Jeff Moxham, another great sailor, is saying, please ask shippers if he thinks 100-foot plus yachts and multi-hulls should compete in the Hobart.
Well, I think it's got to be considered, Tom. Certainly bigger than 100 footers. I mean, that was going back a fair way that limit was set when that became the norm for the maxi scene. But, we're seeing Scorpio now at 125 feet. We're seeing Raven bigger than 100 feet. And there are a lot of boats, ocean-going yachts, that are bigger than 100 feet. So I think it's something for the club to consider. Multi-hull as well. I'm not 100% sure on that at this stage. I think the jury would still be out on that. I'm not. That would need a deep dive to work through all of that. I know they're accepted in major races around the world, and they race around the world. But the Hobart race a little bit different, and but I think certainly consider bigger than 100 footers. But some 100-foot owners might think that's not right if they're building. I don't think anyone's building a 100-footer at the moment. So, yeah, I think to be considered both of them, certainly the 100 bigger than 100 feet certainly would be on the table shortly, I would think.
You're a life member. You were made a life member some years ago of the esteemed, the super cool Cruising Yacht Club of Austria, the CYCA. So you must have a fair bit of whack, a fair bit of influence with the ladies and gentlemen there.
Well, I've got the ear close to the ground, I guess, and I know most of the players. But look, it comes up regularly, and I think, and maybe annually. So maybe it's to consider for next year's Hobart race, because there has been some thought and talk about letting these bigger boats in. If you get Scorpio coming out down here, why not let a race? I mean, he fits all the safety requirements. He fits all the measurement requirements and the stability requirements. Well, what's the reason not to let a race, I guess? But it's not quite as simple as that.
Well, the record issue is probably the thing that's got everybody thinking, is that you start letting bigger and bigger boats and the records start to fall. Just speaking of records, Steve Atkins, Commodore Atkins, Madison Beach Club in Connecticut, reminding us in the chat that actually the first monohull, Raven was the first monohull to finish. Argo got line honors overall because they were the first multi-hull to finish in the RORC's Transat. Just saying. Thank you, Commodore Atkins, for reminding us of that. And any other comments here? Ted Ryman down in South Africa saying that was a great video, and I think we would all agree that it was. Now, I have a bit of a special treat here. Coming up is I usually play it in the C block, but today I'm going to play it here in the B block because your good friend, longtime friend, our super Fozy and former president of Australian Sailing, does a regular segment, Peter, as I'm sure you know, for us, called Alistair's Awesome Aussie Anecdote, AAA, and they think that's something to do with alcohol, but it's not. Alistair's Awesome Aussie Anecdote, and here it is for today from his home out in Meetung, east of Melbourne.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. This is AAAA, Alice's Awesome Aussie Anecdote here from beautiful Meetung, which you can see behind me looking over Lake King. Just a few, I guess, general messages today, but I've really dialed in to say good day to my old mate, Peter Shipway, because I know he's the special guest today. Before we do, I would just want to reiterate what a lot of people said about the Sail GP event in Perth. That was an absolutely wonderful event. Well done to the Brits. They absolutely demonstrated that they're the form team. But a big shout out to the Aussies as well. And I really want to mention my great mate, Glenn Ashby, the Great Gashby, we call him, to step into a boat like that, in a situation like that with so little practice and to do such a supreme job was quite unbelievable. And I can't think of anybody else in the world that could pitch in at the last minute and do such a great job. As I said, I'm here in Meetung. This weekend we've got a couple of big regattas going on at the club, but I'll be away. The one regatta is an Etchells, big Etchells Championships, with Etchells coming from around Australia. It's not the Nationals, but it's a big regatta. And the other one is the Flying Dutchman Nationals, which are on this weekend at Meetung. And I was fortunate this morning to meet Fred McCrossan, who's a bit of a legend in the Dutchman. And I got to chatting to him. I should have interviewed him for Sailing Illustrated because he's quite a character. And in chatting to him, I knew he was a bit of a legend in the class, but hadn't realised that he's actually won 3 world championships, and he's won a total of 15 nationals across 3 classes, being the Flying Dutchman, the Sharpies, and the 470. So he's quite the sailor, and it was a pleasure meeting him this morning. I won't be on the show this weekend because of, excuse me, a commitment that I have every single year. You might remember, Tom, I go outback for a week every Australia Day. I go to a place called Wanboyne. It's right out in the bush. We see a lot of wildlife. We chip oysters off the rocks. We do some serious bike riding, some pretty serious drinking as well, and we just have a good time. And it's something I do every year, and I'm totally out of range of all mobile coverage, which is actually quite a pleasure. But I wanted to record a quick message because I know Shippers is a guest. I want to just say a few words about him. G'day to you, Peter. Just for the information of everybody else, Peter and I were old sparring mates in a way. We were never in competition with each other. He was Barlow winches and I was Ronstand, so he was selling winches and I was selling blocks, and we were on the road together back in the late 70s, calling on the chandleries, the yachting stores of Australia, most of which don't exist anymore, but that's another story. But I just wanted to, pay a bit of tribute to Shippers because he's made a big impact on sailing here in Australia. I can't imagine a Sydney to Hobart race without him. His coverage of the race is second to none, and we enjoy his coverage of the 18-footer action on Sydney Harbour as well. So he's well known to a lot of people. But not everybody might know that I think he sailed in 31 Sydney Hobarts himself, 2 overall victories on handicap, and many line honours victories. Sailed in 8 Admirals Cups, and I think Shippers, you might have even done an America's Cup. I think 1980, but I could be wrong on that. And I just want to perhaps finish by saying what an enormous contributor Peter has been to Australian sailing in general, particularly through the CYC. Peter is a life member there at the CYC, and he's richly deserved it, contributing on so many committees and doing so much for the club over so many years. So well done, Shippers, and I know you'll be a great guest on Sailing Illustrated. I'm sorry I'm going to miss it, but I'll catch it on replay and enjoy it. I'm also looking forward, Tom, to the Sailing Illustrated Person of the Year. I'll be doing my homework. I'm looking forward to being part of that panel that deliberates on that. And it's just a fantastic lineup of true legends in the sport of sailing. So that should be terrific. And just siding out, I might ask you, Tom, to ask Peter how he pronounces the word OREGANO. And I know he's going to say it the right way. And you'll be wrong again, Tom. Okay, that's all from me. Over, and I'm off to the outback. But we'll catch you all in replay in a week. See ya. Bye, and see you, shippers. Bye, mate.
There is Alistair's Aussie anecdote for today. And Peter, I don't know if you saw the show. I don't know when it was, but Alistair, he does these AAAs regularly, and he did this thing on trying to instruct me how to properly pronounce. I know how to say Canberra. I know how to say Melbourne, not Melbourne. I know how to say Brisbane, but he sends this, which
Oregano.
we pronounce it, as you know, oregano. And Julia, why do we pronounce it that way?
Because that's the way it's pronounced.
So
I did see that show, Tom, but that was very nice of Alistair. We're old friends, as they say, go back a long way, but very much appreciate his comments there. And that's from someone that's done an amazing amount for Australian yachting himself through his presidency of yachting, and generally a fantastic guy, and someone also that, well, not also, but someone that has contributed dramatically and greatly to the state of Australian sailing. So thank you, Alistair, much appreciated.
Yeah, Alan Long agreeing. Thanks, Alistair, for a most enjoyable AAAA. Jeff Moxham again. Nice tribute. Pete, you, Pete, are a great fella. Moxham.
That's from Spider Moxham. There you go.
That's from Moxham.
Everyone's got a nickname in Australia. He's Spider.
And Chris Fury, who we all know well, is Fozy as well. Lots of wildlife in Geelong. I've even tried to learn to pronounce Geelong this weekend, Al, so I don't know what's going on. But let's get to your yachting history. I understand this is the first yacht that you sailed in the Sydney Hobart. Is that true?
That is correct. A little boat, 30 feet 9 inches long, and I did 3 Hobart races on that boat. The first when I was 18, that's me sitting up the bow outside Sydney Heads. And I just was looking up the record because I thought you might ask me this, Tom. That boat, we took 6 days and 1 hour to do the race. 6 days and 1 hour, that's 145 hours. And the last race I did was on Wild Oats 11, and it took 1 day, 20 hours, so 44, 101 hours quicker on Wild Oats than that little boat. But at 18, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, there were big boats and little boats, and that was certainly one of the littlest boats. And at 18 years of age, I didn't know any better. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. So 3 Hobarts on that, then I certainly got onto bigger boats after. But she was a terrific little boat and still sailing around on Sydney Harbour.
And the reason you were 18 and your daughter just sailed at her first Hobart at age 18 is because that's the limit, right? You can't, the CYC has a limit of age 18. You must have turned 18 in the year of the race or before the race, or?
Before the race. That came in after the tragic 1998 race. Before that was unlimited.
Oh, was it?
There's no age limit, no requirement. And but 98 opened a lot of eyes for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. So I brought in an 18-year-old limit that you've got to be 18 or over.
You also sailed on one of the most famous boats ever, and it's still going strong. Tell us about this famously cool boat.
Well, that's Love and War. I mean, it's someone wrote the other day, and I'm very biased here, but they said it's probably the greatest boat that's ever raced in the Sydney Hobart race. It's won the race 3 times. It's been 3rd twice. It's been 4th once. It's been 7th once, and 7th when there was 350 boats racing for the 50th anniversary race. She, what I think has made it great, Tom, is that she's transcended. She was built for the IOR rule back in 1973, and she moved from IOR rule across the IMS rule, and now she's racing the IRC rule. And she finished third amongst all the modern boats just a few weeks ago. And I think it would probably be one of Olin Stevens' best designs ever, and still been in immaculate condition, still in the same family that had the boat built. Peter Kurtz had it built, and his son Simon Kurtz now owns it. It's in beautiful condition. It lacks for nothing, but it's changed. Nothing's really changed. It's just been a couple of self-tailing winches that have been added, but the hull hasn't been touched. The mast height hasn't been touched. The sails, well, obviously they're more modern sails, but all the hull, the deck, it's still basically the original condition. And if you've got time, I'll tell you a very quick story about this.
Here, let me play a video. And then we'll listen to the first with Lisa. We'll listen to the first couple minutes, and then why don't you voice over while she's taking us below, and then just tell the story over this video here in a sec or two.
Legend himself, Peter Shipway. Who better to give me a history lesson on this boat than you?
Yes, it's a special boat, Lisa, that's for sure. It was built 51 years ago. Won 3 Hobart races, and I was fortunate enough to be involved right from the word go. Did the first Hobart on this boat in 1973, and then was fortunate enough to be on board in 74 and 78 when we won the Tattersall Cup.
Talk us through those races. I mean, back then, what was the Hobart like? Was it a real tough battle to get those wins?
Well, it was, and there's nothing like the sophistication we've got now with the weather modelling and all the routing systems. We had nothing like that. We just used to cut the weather out of the Sydney Morning Herald on the morning of the race and do our best.
Ballyhoo edges past Love and War. Both crews tense, coaxing those last fractions of speed from the weakest of winds.
In 74, we weren't the favourite. Bumblebee 3 had arrived from America. Super yacht had cleaned everything up, and we went very much into that race as a non-favourite. But we had a real ace up our sleeve, and that was the legendary Magnus Halverson. He was the navigator that we acquired for that race. And he was the Bradman of the Sydney Hobart race. He'd 5 wins he had, and line honours wins. No one has won more races than Magnus. And he was a very thoughtful man, didn't say much, but when he spoke, it was one of those persons you listen to. Big man, 6 foot plus and 15 stone, and the message he gave us right here in this cockpit, 50 years ago, almost to the day, he said, don't get jammed on the Tassie coast. That was his message, simple as that, meaning don't close the coast too early. And what happened was that Bumblebee 3 did close the coast too early, while we were 50 miles to seaward and rushing along in a 20-knot westerly, and we caught Bumblebee and we won the race. It was a wonderful thrill, and because as a youngster growing up, you look at the race and you think, wow, to do it is one thing, and then to win it, something special.
So incredible. And the boat also won in 2006 with Lindsay May at the helm, who has his own incredible history with the race, and the boat's still in it to win it, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been one of Olin Stevens, who designed the boat along with his firm, Sparkman & Stevens, he's often said that this design, and there was a few sister ships, is one of the best designs he's ever had, and it has stood the test of time. I mean, we won in 74, and then 3 years ago, the boat got 3rd overall. So it's transversed all these rating systems, the IOR, the IMS, and now IRC, and it's still competitive. And I mean, if there's going to be a hard wind with thrash, this boat will be up there because it's got a very good handicap rating. Light winds, it's an Achilles heel, either upwind or downwind, but yeah, it's still very competitive. And after 51 years, it's an amazing tribute to the designers.
And there's a lot of family history here involved as well.
That's right, yeah. Well, Peter, who's sadly passed now, Peter Kurtz, he had the boat built, and then when Simon, his son, was old enough, he went to Hobart, and now Simon's son, Philip, is skippering the boat to Hobart. So 3 generations of skippers. That's special too. Yeah.
Incredible history. Well, thanks for taking me through the lesson, and I think we might head on downstairs and have a look as well.
Lovely, thanks.
So here we are downstairs.
Let's go back to you now, Peter, while you're getting the tour, giving Lisa the tour. You're going to tell us a story or two.
Yes, well, a very quick story. It's a long story, but I'll make it as quick as I can, Tom. When the boat was
No
built,
rush. We got all afternoon. That's the nice thing about doing long form video, you know. We call Julia the Joe Rogan of sailing podcast. We just keep going and going and going till we're done. Carry on.
Well, the boat was commenced building in 1972, and while the boat was being built here in Sydney, coal molded Oregon hull, halfway through the build, the Australian trials were on for the 1973 Admiral's Cup team. And the trials were being dominated by two boats, Ginkgo and Apollo 2, both designed by Ben Lexon, Bob Miller, then Ben Lexon. And those boats were absolutely cleaning everything up in the trials for the Australian team. One of those boats that was getting cleaned up was Ragamuffin, one of the most famous boats to come out of Australia, another Sparkman and Stevens design. So halfway through the build, Peter Kurtz rang the builder and said, stop building. I've got a change of plan. I think I'm going to trash what I've started and I'm going to look at a Ben Lexon design and we'll start again. Well, then he wrote to contacted Owen Stevens' office and said, look, I'm decided to stop building. I'm going to trash what started. And the boat was well underway. The frames were up and half the planking had started. And you can imagine what went on in the Sparkman Stevens' office. So as luck would have it, the 1972 one-ton cup was being held in Sydney. And Andy McGowan and Dave Pedrick, who were both working for Stevens at that time, Andy is a sort of a travelling salesman and gets the boats going, and Dave was sailing here on a boat called Bullet. And so Oliver Stevens got in touch with those guys and said, look, we've got a problem here. You've got to go and visit Mr. Kurtz and convince him to keep building the boat. He's going to stop building the boat. And knowing Peter Kurtz as I did, that was his mantra. He wouldn't have worried about it. He obviously had the money to do what he was going to do, throw it out the door, burn the bits that had been started to build, and build a Ben Lexon boat. So Andy McGowan and Dave Pedrick obviously did a very good job to convince him to keep building. He kept building the boat, and the rest is history, as they say. And a year later, when we won the Hobart race, Peter Kurtz showed me a telegram, as you did in those days, the best way of quick communication. It was from Olin Stevens. It said, I'm glad you didn't stop building. Congratulations, regard, Olin. So there. And there's a nice story about a boat that may have never been built, but she was, and now she's probably one of the great boats in the history of Australian ocean racing.
Now tell us about your daughter, Grace, who one reads that she sailed aboard the boat. She's just turned 18, has just completed her first race to Hobart aboard the renowned and much-loved SNS 47 Love and War. Her father, Peter Shipway, completed 31 races south, on 2 of which he was aboard Love and War, and when they won the Tattersall Cup for IRC overall. Grace is normally to be found racing aboard Noel Cornish's Far 40 Indy, but she hinted that she might be back again for the race to Hobart someday. I didn't run the interview. It was a nice interview with Crosby Lorimer, but your daughter sounds like she's got the Shipway genes in spades.
Well, it's lovely. Yes, she's not 18 actually. She's 26. So,
she is.
Yeah. But anyway, she's been every Boxing Day she says to me, "Oh, Dad, I want to go to Hobart." I said, "Look, Gracie, you just can't go to Hobart. You've got to do the hard yards." And she raced skiffs as a young girl, sabots and flying 11s, and she's been doing a bit of harbour racing. And I said, "Look, you've got to get serious about this." So she said, "Oh, well, you know Mark Richards." I said, "Yeah, I know Mark Richards." I said, "What's that question about?" She said, "Oh, I'd like to get on Wild Oats." I said, "Oh, right, okay." There's a lot of to get on Wild Oats. It just doesn't happen like that. She said, "Oh, well, ring Rico." I said, "No, I'm not ringing Rico. I know how hard it is to do
Mark
this."
Richards.
Yeah. I said, you've got to do the hard yards, and you've got to get on a boat that you just can't get on a Formula One boat like Wild Oats to do the race." And she understood that eventually. So anyway, the Love and War I thought was a great boat to be able to do it on, not only because of the history that I have with the boat, but because it's a big, safe boat. It's a wonderful crew. There's no rock stars there. There's no professionals. It's a Corinthian boat. And I know they sail the boat very well. And so she did the lead-up races. was a very hard Hobart. First 48 hours were pretty grim, but she got through it all, and the crew said she did a pretty good job. Didn't miss a watch. A lot of the crew were sick, not for a lot of time, but Grace was a little bit sick early on, as you'd expect, have a first big ocean race. So, yeah, very thrilled and very, very humbled that she was able to do the race, and great thrill for our family that, and they got third as well. So that just a little bit of icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm. Well,
maybe some ice cream on top of the sticky date pudding. Icing on the cake.
Well, Julia,
Sir.
Peter, one of our favorite persons in the whole history of yacht racing, PJ Montgomery,
Yes.
is in the chat.
Oh, good.
And Peter has said, Tom, ask Peter Shipway, to explain what he meant by Magnus was the Brad man of sailing. Tell them who was Brad man.
He's right onto it, old PJ. So Donald Bradman, probably one of the most well-known Australian sportsmen of all time. He was a cricketer, and he played before the Second World War and just after the Second World War. Broke every record in cricket, and at the time it was it still is a national sport here, and everyone, young and old, know about Don Bradman, and in reference to Bradman means that he's the star of that sport and star of Australian sport. And Magnus Halvorsen certainly was the star of Australian ocean racing. So that was the reference there. So for Americans, it wouldn't have meant anything. Is it Babe Ruth? Was he one of the real stars of your baseball? Have I got that right?
Yeah, Babe Ruth. But we would just use the expression, I think lately anyway, we'd use the expression GOAT. The GOAT,
yes,
GOAT, the greatest of all time. And I, having lived in Australia, having lived in New Zealand, as PJ knows, and trying to learn something about cricket, but it's hard.
It is hard. I've tried for years.
It's hard. We when you have that big test, I guess it's a test on your Boxing Day. In the middle of the race, everybody is in Melbourne, on the cricket grounds of the is that the MCG
CG.
over
Melbourne
there?
Cricket.
And I tried to cover a little bit of that because the Brits, we have a lot of Brits on here, we have a lot of Kiwis on here, and a lot of Aussies. In fact, today's show is almost all Aussie again, but. It's unbelievable and very difficult for us to understand cricket, even after all these years. Maybe you can give me a lesson on cricket sometime, the way that Alistair tried to teach me to speak strine.
Right.
You must be very proud of your daughter. That's what Chris Fury is saying. People do the hard yards. Well, that's a good old expression. But bravo Zulu to your daughter. You're 26, not 18, Grace Shipway. Then thanks to Crosby for that nice interview. You also have another famous shot. I don't believe you've sailed. You didn't sail to Sydney to Hobart on Keel K2, did you? Or did you?
No. I haven't sailed on Kilo 2, but I think the relevance there, Tom, is that a lot of the crew that sailed on Kilo 2 raced on Love and War, this recent Hobart race, and the owner of Kilo 2, Paddy Broughton, English guy who now resides in Australia. He was the navigator on Love and War, and a few of the other boys that did the Fastnet last year on Kilo 2 came aboard and sailed on Love and War. So, a wonderful old boat, Kilo 2, of course, and but a really Corinthian outfit, and a lot of good sailors there that transferred quite easily onto Love and War.
What is it about Australia and Australian sailing, the culture, the clubs? I submit it's the clubs. You have all these great clubs that are, open and inviting and friendly. And of course, everybody lives near the water. Pretty much everybody in Australia lives near the water. But what is it about your country and the Brits and the French and the Kiwis, arguably a couple others, that produce so many great sailors year in and year out?
Well, I think it's a long, could be a long answer, but I think you've nailed it there. Our major cities are all based around the water, Now look at Sydney. I mean, one of the best harbours in the world. Obviously, again, biased, and we just gravitate to the water, be it swimming or surfing or whatever. And sailing is such a big part of it. It's such a wonderful place to sail. We've got Melbourne, Port Phillip Bay. We've got Brisbane. They've got the big bay up there, and then in Fremantle, of course, the wonderful conditions there. And our climate is such that you can sail 12 months of the year, and that's what we do. Summer series, we have spring series, we have autumn series, we have winter series. And it's cold, but it's not extreme. It's not snowing or icy or whatever. You can literally race every weekend of the year. So it is a sport that it's not a seasonal sport as such. I mean, it's better racing in the summer, of course, but you find that you can race year round, and I think that's a huge attraction to a lot of people, that they don't have to stop like maybe rugby, where you play only in the winter. There's nothing to happen in the summer. With sailing, you can go year round, and that's what a lot of clubs and skiffs and yachts do. So I think that's a huge attraction, Tom, to get people sailing. Although at the moment numbers are down a little bit. It's a bit harder to get crews these days, but that's probably another problem. But I think the main reason is our climate and our proximity to good sailing conditions is the reason that there's so many people that sail here in Australia and, of course, produce good sailors.
Speaking of good sailors, you sent some pictures to me in the last few days, and I've stuck them in the show here. And here's a mate of yours and mine. I said to you in the tech check, I said, "Is that Robbie?" And sure enough, and I don't know how many America's Cup campaigns, did a couple with him. One of the great people in any country, any time in our beloved sport, Robbie Naismith.
Robbie Naismith, yeah, terrific. Well, I sailed a lot of miles with him on Wild Oats, and terrific fella. And he was on, as I think might have mentioned before, on Raven in the transatlantic race, but still doing his pro yachting around the world. He pops up on all the good boats, and terrific fellow and a great crewman too.
Another Wild Oats photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just the nice red gear is always associated with Wild Oats, and it was a great owner and a great campaign on that boat.
And speaking of Rico and the late, great Bob Oatley, I went up to Hamilton Island, in fact, at their invitation. I guess you know this. I went up to Hamilton Island, must have been leading up to the 2013 Cup, and took the Cup there. And Ian Murray and I and Ian Burns Fresh did a few presentations on leading up to the 2013 Cup. And I wasn't there for more than a couple nights, but I've never had more fun, never been received more warmly or graciously anywhere in the world than at Hamo for that Hamilton Island Race Week with the Cup. Thanks.
Yeah, wonderful family. That's the Admiral's Cup after we won in 2003. Mark Richards there with Bob and myself, but did so much for the sport here in Australia. Very understated, and just a fabulous man and fabulous family, of course, and still doing a lot for the sailing community. And Hamilton Island is just a marvellous place to race up there. But Bob was a wonderful, wonderful guy to sail with, and nothing was a problem. Nothing was too much of an effort for him. And every boat he prepared, or they prepared, or Mark Richards prepared for him, was in immaculate condition. And the proof, 9 line honours wins in a Sydney Hobart race is very special.
Speaking of the Admiral's Cup, you were named by our mutual friend, the Super Fozy Mr. Doctor, we call him, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. You were named to join his advisory committee leading up to the 2025 Admiral's Cup, and that was a huge success, I submit, in part because of the people, not only the leadership of Andrew McIrvin, but also the superb collection of people from around the world that he put on that team. And one hears, congratulations, I believe, are in order, because you've been named to that advisory committee again with another one of our Super Fozy, with Commodore Claire Harrington of the New York Yacht Club.
Yes, it was a wonderful thrill to be asked by Andrew a number of years ago now, and I think they were looking for someone in the Southern Hemisphere that perhaps had some knowledge of the Admiral's Cup and had competed previously. So Andrew did a marvellous job as a chairman, pulling that all together from all parts of the world. And I think the result last year was proof of what a good job he did, especially. Others contributed, of course, and that was a fabulous success. And hopefully that it'll be bigger and better in 2027. But it was a good committee. We met a number of times on Zoom, as you can these days, and we had some robust discussions, but in the end, we all came to an agreement. And I think, talking to the competitors, they really enjoyed the regatta that they had. There's been a bit of fine-tuning for next time, but that's always occurs, and fine-tuning for the better, I'm sure. And I think Andrew has led that exceptionally well. And hopefully that we'll get a few more teams, but being a club-orientated regatta now, not necessarily a country-orientated regatta, it will lead the way open for more teams to come and compete.
It was a spectacular success by any measure, and we covered it extensively on here just because everybody wanted us to. But you've also been a superb commentator for years. Here you are with Gordon Bray doing, I guess this was a couple of years ago, the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race commentary, and you've been doing it, of course, for the 18-footers as well. This race was another spectacular event. The numbers are down, but the sport, the world, there aren't as many kids. We talk about the demographics. The sport's gotten maybe too expensive, a bit too expensive. We've got a demographics issue. There just aren't as many kids around as there used to be when we were growing up. I grew up in a family of 5. I don't know how many siblings, if any, you had, but there just are fewer kids around, fewer crew, and it's tougher, as you said a minute ago, to get crew. But the interest in the media and the job that you all are doing is spectacular. How do you do this? How do you make this happen?
Well, how do we make it happen? Well, we do a lot of homework. There's two sides to the broadcast of the Hobart race. Is the live stream, live start on Boxing Day. Mm-hmm. That goes around the country on free-to-air television. So anyone can watch that. And that's an hour and a half broadcast. We start half an hour before start time, which is 1 o'clock Sydney time. So we go to air at 12:30. We do a few historical pieces. We look at the weather. And then we get into about 10 to 1, we really get into the action of the live action. And one of the things that we're conscious of, and I don't know how you'd ever get around it completely, but people say, oh, you only ever focus on the maxi boats, the boats that are first out the heads. And you never mention little Sarah Sue that's a 30-footer that's got my uncle on board or something like that. But with 130 boats we had this year, it's very difficult to cover every boat. And the broadcaster, it's a national broadcasting network, they changed broadcaster 2 years ago for a number of reasons, but both say the same thing, that 80% of the people that are watching the broadcast are basically non-yachties, as a sense, because it's the day after Christmas, everyone's pretty relaxed. If they're not out on the water, they're watching it on television. So they only want to see who's coming first. They don't understand the handicap side of things. They don't understand why anyone would go in a little boat. They just want to see Wild Oats, Law Connect, Comanche, Lucky, Wild Thing, and Blackjack, perhaps, if it's here, fighting out for the lead. They don't really care about Sarah Sue down the back. So they want to see who's first out the heads and first to Hobart and all of that. Mm-hmm. So we've got to find a balance between covering the leading boats and then the boats back in the fleet. So we've made a conscious effort in the last couple of years through our camera work. We've got helicopters and we've got cameras on boats on the water. So we've tried to make a conscious effort to cover more of the smaller boats, if you like, as they go to the turning market Sydney heads, to try and give a better coverage to some of the other boats and take away a little bit from the maxis. So it's a balancing act. With, as I said earlier, 130 boats. You're not going to mention 130 boats, but I think we try and get a balance right between the first 5 or 6 maxis and then the remainder of the fleet. It's hard, very hard.
I think you've done a spectacular job balancing that, especially later in the race when they're coming into the Derwent and coming into Hobart, and you're starting to do a lot more social media stuff from the perch there. But if when you're live in that first hour and a half, everybody wants to see those big boats. We do a watch party. We've been doing a watch party here for years, just picking up the coverage out of Australia, and we get lots and lots of people because they want to sit here and talk on our Christmas night. We go live, I think, at 5 o'clock our time, Christmas night, and it's the middle of the night in Europe, and people get up and just want to sit here and talk with their friends. If I were the producer of that show, I'd consider taking Lisa and Olivia Price, Lisa Darmanin and Olivia Price, have them situated in the second start. I mean, they all start at the same time. Just have them in a boat somewhere. It's another asset. It's another camera. It's another microwave. I get it. But just have them saying, well, yeah, here we are, Peter and Gordon. We're here at the second start, and it looks like so-and-so's got a good start. And I'm here in the third start in the little smaller boats, and it looks like so-and-so's got a good start. We cut a quick and even a little mention and a shot for all of 20 or 30 seconds of those other two, because the starting lines are equally impressive, not in some ways more so. That's what I would do but I think you do for anybody to criticize it is ridiculous, because how many other countries get live television coverage of a yacht race nationwide? I mean, we're seeing Sail GP now here in certain countries, including here in the U.S. now on CBS SN, CBS Sports Network, which is a cable company. But nonetheless, we're getting national coverage of Sail GP. America's Cup, there hasn't been any national coverage of the America's Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 92 when I was running it in San Diego, we had national coverage. Certainly Peter Montgomery and the whole gang in New Zealand have had national coverage. And the best coverage, the best America's Cup racing by any of us that have been doing the Cup like you since 1980 would say was Frio in 1987. Full stop.
Yeah, one of the problems we've got, Tom, of course, with doing the start of the Hobart race is that identifying the boats, and it's very difficult because some of the boats, or a lot of the boats, come from interstate or overseas. So the only time you really see them is at the start of the Hobart race. And, we know the Sydney boats, we know the Maxis because everyone knows them. But when you get back to the 30-footers, 40-footers, it's very hard to identify them. So what I do, I try, a month before Hobart, I get the entries and I look at the entries, and then I try and I have some point of identification, whether the boat's got a blue hull or a red hull or a white hull, or, most of them got white hulls. So then you've got to try and find something that's a bit different about them. Sail numbers come flashing at you. You've got 30 boats coming across the screen. It is very hard to get identification correct. So you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't misidentify boats. And that's worse than, not identifying them, if you know what I mean, because it is very difficult, and that's where you get back into the smaller boats side of things, where they're the less known boats, and I mean that quite no offence meant, but everyone knows Wild Oats, for example, or Palm Beach now. But back in the little boats, it's very hard. So when we get to Hobart, as you said, it's so much easier because they're not all on top of each other. There might be 2 or 3 coming up the river at the same time. So you can get easy identification. You look at your notes, you can give some background to each boat and background to the crew. So Hobart is a lot more relaxed in that way because you can concentrate on a couple of boats. Even if there's 2 or 3 Maxis there, there's absolutely no problem. There's not 30 or 40 boats flying at you all at once going across the screen. So it is very difficult, and people, I don't think they're critical, but I don't think they quite understand just how difficult it is at the start. I mean, you could give a generic start and say, look at all the lovely white sails and the white caps and the breeze and the clouds. But I think we try and do more than that without overcomplicating it, and try and keep it interesting to the public, the general public. We give, the breeze, what the boat's going to be doing, how quick they're going to be going, for the yachties to try and understand, but also to try and help for the non-yachties who are just tuning in, probably with a hangover after Christmas Day, just watching the race and saying, look, they're going to send the Spinnakers shortly because they're going to be turning south to go. So it's a real, very, very hard, and it goes so quickly. Hour and a half seems like 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, it is. And of course, the other thing people forget, you're doing it live.
Yes, exactly.
We understand here live TV because it's what we do twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. We're the only live show in the sport. Regular live podcast, video, webcast, whatever you want to call it. But it's hard. Live is hard. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. But as you say, Peter, it's a lot more difficult.
I bash myself up if I make a mistake. And, fortunately, touch wood, I'm sort of haven't made that many mistakes, but I made quite an error this year, but I got myself out of it. I misidentified a well-known boat. It was coming head on, so I couldn't see the sail number.
Well,
and I had the same colour as another boat.
That's easy.
So I said,
you got to adopt our approach, Peter. We're rarely or maybe often in error, but never in doubt. But we also have one other thing, and I make because I have no script. We have no teleprompter. I have the slides, which are my script. But we have the FOSI. We have the chat. And if I make an error, and made one or two today, people pick it up, pick it up right away and correct it, which is a great feature. And that's why we appreciate the FOSI, the Friends of Illustrated, so much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about not the start, but the finish of the Hobart. And what are we going to do to fix this? We all talk about it and saying, how is our sport? Once again, people, speaking of non-yachties, how did this happen that somebody comes into the finish line and everybody thinks they're going to win, uncorrected in this case, and then ends up having time docked because of something they did with their spinnaker pole that okay, it's a rule. We all understand the rule. I understood the rule the minute I saw what was going on, but not many people even know that rule exists, Peter.
No, well, look, I mean, firstly, the disappointment for this double-handed boat was immeasurable, I would think. I mean, they sailed a mighty race, and to be provisionally named the winner, we were covering it live, actually, and we had some great overhead shots from the chopper coming up, and I said, look, that's a novel. I had no idea. I said, what a novel way to put your asymmetrical spinnaker out and hold it out, and they're running dead flat or dead square to the finishing line. It all looked pretty nice, and they were happy and waving and hugging each other when they crossed the line. And everyone sort of said, well, provisionally they're first, congratulations and great effort, et cetera, et cetera. Then, a few hours later, we got the news that maybe it wasn't a victory, and you read the rule, and they were penalised an hour and 5 minutes to drop them from first to second. So huge disappointment. But Tom better than anyone. The rule book, there's a lot of not hidden rules, but rules everywhere, and you've got to cross every T and dot every I, as it were. And they obviously didn't know, and quite humbly they said, look, we accept the jury's decision. We made a mistake. We didn't know. Congratulations to the now winner, Min River, and we move on. So they're very noble in defeat, but very disappointed, I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about SailGP, because talking about television and this event, by all accounts, it was out. Of course, it was out in Perth. It was in WA, and a fabulous event. I haven't been in Frio, I think, since Warren Jones's funeral. I think Dyer Jones and I flew over from Auckland back in the early the noughts, either 2000 or 2003. So I haven't, and I'd love to go back to Frio or Perth, but the regatta was spectacular. So much so that I heard from our good friend Will Bolden the other day, Coach Will, who lives out in Perth, and he said, let me tell you what a great regatta we just had. And I said, Will, send us a video. Tell me how good it was, because I don't think people outside of WA even appreciate how cool, and outside of SailGP, appreciate how cool a regatta it was. And here's what Will sent.
Tom, Julia, and the FOSI. Will Bolden coming to you from Fremantle, Perth, Western Australia here. Of course, we've just hosted the season opener, the 2026 season opener for the Oracle Sail Grand Prix. And I'm just here to say what an amazing event it was. A huge success for not only Sale Grand Prix, but a big success for our local government here in Western Australia. I think we had something like 15,000 people come across each day, so 30,000 across the weekend. It was action-packed from start to finish. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. The patients called and the doctor delivered. The doctor being our local sea breeze here in Fremantle, which I'm sure you've all heard about. We had absolutely everything. We had high-speed adrenaline racing. We had collisions. We had boats written off. We had people getting injured. The best part about it all is that the racing was very, very close. All you had to do was look at Australia and France in the very final race of the regatta coming across the finish line to see that. We had Matt Hall and his stunt plane doing loop-to-loops above us. It was just amazing. The people here in Perth turned out in force, absolute force. They were scrambling to look over fences. They were standing on bins, climbing on whatever they could to try and see the races if they'd missed out on a ticket. And I've certainly never seen anything like that in my 30 years walking the planet, and certainly not here in Perth. I'm told 1987 had similar resemblance when we hosted the America's Cup, but I wasn't here to see that. I certainly was here on the weekend and can't believe it's coming back again next year. We're all very much looking forward to it. If you haven't got tickets for next year, don't stress because they're not released yet, but when they do come out, please do go and buy yourself a ticket. I hear they're doubling, or they're thinking about doubling the grandstand capacity, so there's no reason to miss out. Very much looking forward to it. Hope everybody's well, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers.
Okay, so that's Will Bolden, our good friend, an alum, a veteran of the Governor's Cup, and he's coached at Gov Cup down at Balboa Yacht Club, where, of course, we do the television down there, Peter, as you know. What's your take on Sail GP, Pete?
Well, I think just adding to what Will had to say there, Tom, I think it was the biggest crowd ever. I saw it this week somewhere in the news feeds that it was the biggest crowd ever to watch a Sail GP event. So that's wonderful, isn't it? Well, look, what do I think? I think it's fantastic. I watch it. I find it sometimes the start, if you win the start, well, the game's over. But in high breeze, it is wonderful down in Fremantle. I think Russell Coote and Larry have done a fantastic job in getting this to where it is now. I think they've got 13 teams scheduled to have another team next year, I think, up to 14. And I think they're building all the time. It's been a marvellous success, and it's due in Sydney here in about a month's time. It goes to New Zealand before that. And the crowds I heard an advertisement through the week selling tickets for Sail GP here in Sydney. I think it's been a marvellous success. I think it would be, I think I read somewhere they're looking at breaking into two divisions, two races of sort of 7 or 8.
Correct.
I think that would be better because the smaller the number, it's better for the start. You can just see how it all develops. And that's like the finals when there's only 3 boats. I think that's more exciting perhaps than just have a mass of boats, because you win that start in a mass fleet, invariably 9 times out of 10 you're going to win the race. And there's not many parking lanes, but it seems to me when there's only 3 boats, there's opportunities there that you can see better. When 2 boats may go to the right, 1 goes to the left, you can see what is really actually happening. But with massive boats moving so quickly, it's often harder to get a real grasp on who's doing well or who's doing not. But I think they've got to be congratulated on the success of the whole concept. I think it's been marvellous.
Well, I think the other problem with these boats and with the wings, and there's so much turbulence coming off the trailing edge of the wings, and of course you're sailing in turbulence. If you're not the first boat, you're sailing in dirty air the whole time. Steve Atkins, Commodore Atkins, telling us that New York, which is several months down the road here, is sold out, and that they bought tickets. They live in Connecticut, just north and east of New York City, so it's going good. Also going good is the job you all do. Here you are in the back with our super Fozy, Dolly DeVola, and you've been doing with Sail Media this commentary for the 18-footer live coverage. For how long's that been going on, Peter?
Well, a lot of years. We've got a very sophisticated boat and team there. That's the Sail Media catamaran that we use. It's brilliantly set up. Jimmy Bury, the guy at the back there, between Dolly and myself, he runs the program. He's owns the boat, and it's his team, and they do a fabulous job. There's drones, there's gyro cameras. From where we came, we used to go out on an open catamaran with 4 cockpits. There's no deck, no coverage at all. We didn't even have monitors. We just had to look where the guy was pointing the camera and played off that. And that was very basic. When it rained, we all got very, very wet. But now Jimmy's put this boat together. Well, it's just wonderful to do it. And he's a very good skipper. And the rest of the crew are very, very, very good at their jobs. They're all sailors, so they understand the sport, and they really get very good photography, and the drone shots are wonderful. The drone operator, who's not in that picture there, John O'Witty he's the stand-in drone a guy on the left there, but Dylan Clark is the drone pilot, and Dylan races on Law Connect, and he's also does drone work for Sail GP. So we've got a very, very good team, great producer in Michael Chittenden there on the right, and they produce very, very good pictures for the 18-footers. And again, that's watched worldwide every Sunday from Sydney Harbour. So we're blessed with the team we've got, but blessed with the equipment they've provided to enable us to produce such a good show.
Well, we talk about this on here, Governor's Cup, same thing. We've got a crew of 18, 20, 22 volunteers who have come together every year. And Peter, we started out with an iPhone.
Yeah.
When you could only stream from an iPhone up to the cell system. And we started, 10, 12 years ago and now we've got a boat that is owned by, the fact, Peter Bretschker, who was on the show on Tuesday, and he and his wife, Kari, provide the boat. His son wires it all up, and we have a crew of volunteers just like your team. And I'm asking myself, and I ask often on this show, why don't we have more groups like yours, like ours, volunteers around the world that at clubs, clubs have race committees, they have house committees, they have award, special events committees. Why don't more clubs and leagues and classes, tell me what, have a team like your team or like our Gov Cup TV team? And why don't the Sail Media Gang and our gang or whomever get together and put on some kind of a worldwide seminar to help others understand that other clubs, classes, can do this, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, and you can do it with volunteers largely.
And it's better with that because they have a stake in usually, and they add personality to it.
Well, as Peter says, they're all sailors.
Right.
They're racing. Is that Nev Whitty's brother, or is that Jonah?
No relation. Same
No
name,
relation.
no relation.
Okay, so it's just astonishing. Young people, smart people, and then they let a few of us old guys into it too, Peter.
Well, just an aside there, Tom. His sister sailed with Olivia Price when they won the silver medal in London.
Jonah Whitty.
John O'Witty, yeah.
No relation to Neville.
No relation to Neville.
Got it. Okay.
It's lucky there.
Now tell us.
Jono's sister sailed with Olivia Price.
Let's focus on the 18s for a minute, the IDs, because it's a fabulous part of our sport, and it's one of the, before the America's Cup, even before Sail GP, for me, I always aspired. I always wanted to, as a kid growing up, when I was 11, 12, 13-year-old, we'd see in our magazines about the Ideens, the Sydney Harbor 18s, and I wanted to go sail one of these things. But this is a shot from when? This is a rebuilt boat from back in the, 30s, 40s?
Yeah, 1930s. There's been a revival of building historical 18-foot skiffs, and this is one of them. There's about 8 or 10 that race every Saturday. They'll be out this afternoon on the harbour. Built in the old style, and they look at the crew there, and this old spinnaker pole. It's got about 4 sections in that spinnaker pole. They're thundering downwind there. Look at the crew. There's about 8 or 10 of them there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think at least.
Yeah, and they're hard to sail. They've got gaff rigs. They've got extensions to the mainsail downwind, the old ringtails. They've got ballooner jibs. They've got huge spinnakers. And they get all the older guys race out of out in Sydney on the harbour today. They'll be out there, and once you capsize, it's all over. You get towed home. And I tell you, who comes out each year to sail on them is Harold Cudmore. He likes sailing on them, and I think Harold's due this week to sail. He comes out every year for a couple of months in Sydney, and he normally sails them. And no, they're very competitive. They're slow, but a lot of fun. They've got lee cloths that you've got to put up to stop the water slopping into leeward. If you miss getting the lee cloth up, you could easily capsize. But gee, they're a lot of fun. I've raced for many years in them, but I don't race anymore in them. But they're hard work. There's no winches or anything like that. It's all purchase system, old ropes, old blocks, and it's right back to originality. That's fantastic.
Great stuff. Yeah, Harold Cudmore is the best after-dinner speaker in the sport.
Don't tell him.
Yeah, I tell him that. I tell him that all the time. Anytime I'm at an event, I always try to get Harold to talk and tell a joke or two. He's from Congressional Cup back, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But what a fabulous sport, fabulous part of our sport. And this past weekend, Balmain has won your Australian 18-footer championship over your weekend, last weekend. Jonathan Shore is on here, Bill Shore's son. Those boats are so cool. They remind me of the Maryland canoes. The MD, I think that's what the MD stands for. Unbelievable cool shot. Alley Cat Media was talking about that previous shot. I'll go back to it. Just an amazing shot. And you're telling me there's several of those out every afternoon, every weekend afternoon.
Yeah, every Saturday afternoon they race. Yeah.
But you're covering the modern boats and doing such a great job of it. And I keep telling Dolly DeVola, he says, well, you're going to cover this, aren't you going to cover? I said, yeah, we always cover the 18s at least. What's your big event at the end? The JJ
Gilton Trophy, which is the first week in March, I think it is.
Is that we always cover that, and we're going to do that. Fritz Mueller down in Miami saying the same thing. I love following the 18s. So in that regard, I have a video. It's a little longer than we normally play, 4 minutes and change, of your final race this past weekend when Balmain went from, tell us about it, Peter. They went from kind of the outhouse to the penthouse here in the last little bit of this last race.
Yeah, it was a 5-race series, and it all went down to the last race. It was some of the best regatta racing we've had for the 18s for a long, long while. One race was a boat won by 1 second. And then in the final race, about 3 or 4 boats could have won the championship. It was all decided, as you say, on the last run to the finish. Balmain was 4th at the weather mark, and they had to win the race to have a chance at the championship. And then a couple of other placings had to go their way behind them. And it all fell into place, and they had a thrilling win. And it capped off an outstanding regatta. Balmain consistent. The only race they won was the last race. And the boat, they tied on points with another boat, Shore and Partners, who were consistent. They never won a race, but was broken in Balmain's favour because she had won one race and the other boat hadn't won a race. So a terrific final to a great regatta.
Well, it was so great. I'm going to play the highlights video from that race. Here it is.
All good for us. You going to take, Henry? Go forward, go forward, go forward. Starboard, boys! Yeah, it's going to be a big park up here, Henry. Bend. Bend. Can't tack yet. Squashing a little. Let's keep the rumble going here. Okay, come away! Away, guys! You got to give us room to pass the obstruction. We're not even trying to roll you, just want you to hurry up. There's no point getting in a match like Kurt will try to us for the sake of just us, even though he's nowhere near in the hunt. Every man for himself! Hey, straight set, straight set, straight set.
She's got the angle pretty nice.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of favour in the boat end of the line too. She's closer to that end.
She's going to do it now. A bit more history made on Sydney Harbour. Emma Rankin about to win the 4th heat of the Australian title. There now. Club Marine first. Terrific performance.
There they go.
Tricky conditions. Club Marine first.
Oh, it feels awesome. It's so good. These are definitely our conditions. So it's just awesome. Well, a little bit to Yandu because they crashed tack and we had to tack to avoid them. And we were going that sent us the right way on the course at the beginning, and then we just kept in the pressure, didn't lose our cool, and then got a bit lucky as well. I think that last gyre was a bit sketchy. I think there's a bit of nerves in that. We were wheeling the boat over the line, but it was good. Yeah, good spirits on board.
Okay, we're away.
That'll be interesting because I could see about at least 4 that were over there if they identified them all.
Let's see what happens here.
Royal Oak's coming back.
Shore and Partners in a bit of trouble with the starboard tackers.
Oh, big squeeze.
Finish next time, Kurt. Kurt, you already are with 3. Fisher Pike's our blocker. Going below, reaching below. Reach below, reach below, reach below. Tack! Jib on. Just push the point. Oi! Hey! Let's go. Come on, boys.
My main, just having a look for boats, 0 problems.
Robert! Hey! Jesus Christ! He's dead! Okay, there's a boat in the water there somewhere. Stay on the wire. Big E's, Tommy, let it go, boy. Lots of roll, Tommy, lots of roll.
Tom Grimes, Lockie Pryor.
They could steal a march here because if
Look at this, they could
if
really
they win and Lazarus gets in between, I think that'll give it to them, Pete.
Balmain leads. They're laying the finishing line. 200 metres to go. Challenging packet coming, hammering at them. Lazarus, Yandu and Bigfoot. Well, this is something else. What do we got here, Doll? Balmain first. Yeah, big wave from the boys. Lazarus second.
Whoa. Unbelievable. The onboard audio is so great.
It is good.
It's so good. Ed Worley in the chat saying, look, sailors actually sailing the boat. Sails going, he didn't say this, but I'll add, I know what he's thinking. Sails going up and down. People moving from side to side. No Game Boy controllers. Rick Banderow says, not a class for the unfit and slow afoot. Great stuff, Peter. You and Dolly do a fabulous job.
I think, Tom, I can say this, that 18-foot skiff racing traditionally, and going back a long while, well before I was born, that it's always been fun on the water and off the water. It's attracted a lot of characters, excuse me, to the sport, and there's a lot of fun and games that go on, and we try and portray that somewhat in our commentary. Obviously, a Sydney Hobart commentary is pretty serious, especially at the start. There can't too many fun and games there. We might tell a joke or two, but with the 18s, you can get away with a bit because there's a lot of stories aligned to the old days, a lot of stories aligned to the present day. So it makes our commentary a little bit more relaxed, if I could say that. So we can spend time telling those stories. And I think a lot of people that watch probably enjoy that as much as we enjoy telling the stories, because it's that sort of racing. It's fun. It's free. It's high speed. Spectacular. There's a lot of prangs. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of swearing, as you can probably hear. But I think that all adds to it, and it makes our commentary, a lot easier, I believe.
Dolly DeVola is saying, I'm biased being a former 18 sailor, but the best boats there is for over 100 years. If you're just joining us, we're about an hour and 35 minutes into today's show, number 903. We have live from Sydney, the esteemed, the celebrated, the renowned Peter Shipway is a super sailor and these days a commentator as well, live via Zoom from Sydney. Julia, this is great fun, isn't it, to have Peter with us? And we so appreciate your coming on. And we're going to pick his brain about one more topic here before we let him go. These beautiful photos by Guy Gurney from 1980. AC-24, the 24th Defense of the America's Cup in Newport, Rhode Island, Australia, in the top boat there against Sverige, the Swedish boat on the bottom. They had pedals. People think that this they think that the boats in Barcelona were novel. Well, they had pedals.
Did they?
They had cyclers on the 12s. We banned them. I say we. I was part of the 12-meter technical committee that wrote the rule after, because it was so ridiculous to have people below and then even up above. So we got rid of it. But Peter, a lot of people don't realize you sailed in the Cup in 1980. In Newport on Australia, what we would call Australia 1. And there was I found a video. Julia, you'd be disappointed. You'd think poorly of me if I didn't have a video about the 1980 Cup featuring the Australian team who won the Challenger Trials and got to the match against Dennis Connor's team, Freedom. But here's the Australian team.
These days, every member of a challenging team must be confident he's fit enough to withstand the rigours of a long, hot summer of racing.
You ready? Where we go? Morning.
At the Australian headquarters, the entire squad spends an hour every morning before breakfast raising a sweat. And that not only includes the skipper, but the financial backer as well. As they jog through the great Gatsby world of Newport mansions, Hardy and Alan Bond make a striking contrast. The brash, self-made millionaire puffing along beside 4 generations of inherited wealth. But if they're worlds apart back home, here at Newport the two men are united by a single burning ambition: to be the first to win the Cup from the Americans. Before they can have a crack at the Yanks, the Australians must first earn the right to be the challenging boat. And this time they demolished 3 other nations, Sweden, France and Great Britain, before putting their heads on the chopping block for the Americans once again. So, for the 6th time, and Hardy's 3rd at the helm, it will be Australia versus America for the Cup. The Americans always start favourite at Newport, but Jim Hardy is the skipper who's given them their most nervous moments in modern times. There's a lot of excitement in town, and a last-minute surge of patriotism for the home team. The Americans have now chosen the blue-hulled Freedom as their defending boat, and while the tourists flaunt their suntans, down at the slipway there's still work to be done.
We've got a wonderful crew. It's a very well-managed team. It's a small team. There's one yacht, and so that all of our resources are channeled into the one effort. I feel quite certain I won't be invited a 4th time, and I intend to really do some good this summer.
At the very end, after the $3 million needed to mount a challenge have been spent, the America's Cup boils down to a few highly skilled men and some relatively simple sailing around a 24-mile course. As the crew prepare Australia for the first race against the Americans, they do their best to pretend it's just another day's sailing.
A bit warmer and a bit quieter this way.
3, 2, 1.
Well, I enjoyed that video goes on, and I enjoyed every second of it. What was it like sailing with one of the gentlemen, Jim? I knew him well. He was one of the nicest guys in the history of the sport, at least the modern history. What was it like sailing with Jim Hardy?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Just one word would sum it up. But incredible experience to race the America's Cup, especially with Jim and a very good crew. I'd sailed previously with him in the Admiral's Cup in 1977, and I was fortunate enough to join the crew in 1980. But we had a very, very good team, and we won one race. We beat Dennis in one, and we were in front of another when the time limit expired. And we went close, but nowhere near good enough, really, to get to win the cup. But that happened 3 years later. But a fantastic experience, and we miss him greatly, Jim. A fantastic guy and a great yachtsman too.
Mm. Well, that was my first cup, and I'll never forget it. And the bendy masts. And since then, I've done cups with some other famous Australians there, either side of Sir James.
Sorry, Tom, if I can interrupt there.
Please.
Ben Lexham was a tactician on board Australia that year, in 1980. Benny was our tactician.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize that Aussie John Bertrand, we have a John Bertrand, famously good sailor John Bertrand as well, but he was either your port or starboard trimmer, wasn't he, on Oz 1?
Yeah, he was, yeah. He was, I think, due to go to the 1980 Moscow Games, but of course, Australian yachting pulled out of that, and John Bertrand came over and jumped aboard Australia for the cup. Yeah, so with the port trimmer and Skippy Lissom was the starboard trimmer, I think, or vice versa. Yeah.
Blake Middleton is saying, Peter, what an incredible range of classes, sizes, and worldwide venues you've been a part of. Alley Cat Media saying, amazing video. Looking forward to Sardinia and the AC40. Port trimmer, Alan Clay Embley, rather, is reminding us, JB was. The Cup is taking off now. It's finally this week, some action in Naples. This was from Wednesday in Naples when they made what Richard Gladwell said. He said it was the most words he'd ever read with the fewest announcements. America's Cup partnership formally initiated. Yeah, right. It didn't, it was really a rolling out for the locals, for the sports ministers, for the officials in and around Naples and in Italy. But the partnership ACP's rolled out as LV renews its headline sponsorship. Well, that's old news as well, as the teams at the team presentation, of which there are only 5 for the Louis Vuitton 38th America's Cup in Naples, Italy. That was on Wednesday. And once again, the Maori, which I didn't think they'd roll the Maori out, bring them up for this in Italy, but they are the defender, sadly not defending it in Auckland, where, as you know, Peter, I think they should be defending it. But Wednesday in Naples, the Maori cultural welcome of the 5 America's Cup teams. There's Team New Zealand on the left with Shuby, and then the Brits with Sir Ben, and the Italians with Max Serena, and then the former winner of the Cup, Ernesto Bertarelli, and the tall guy in the white shirt, the Swiss team, and then you've got the French guy there also. So those are the 5 teams. No apparent American team unless in the next 7 days somebody enters. But I was interested, Peter, to see that in that video, the budget for 1980 was all of, it seemed expensive, seemed huge at the time, $3 million. The budgets in 1983, I was the rules advisor for all 3 of the defenders in 83 and helping one of them in 80. But the budget in 83 was $4 million for the top teams. And when we went to Frio for the 87 Cup, and I was with America too, the New York Yacht Club's Challenge, and our budget was $16 million. It had gone up by a factor of 4.
I know.
And now, of course, it's sky's the limit, and they're huge. But here is the video from the Wednesday Falderall in Naples.
The world doesn't stand still. Neither do we. 175 years. Still here.
The America's Cup.
Different boats.
A fine racing craft.
Different eras.
Remarkable design. The world's most magnificent sailing machines.
Same obsession.
Grandest prize. The sporting tradition.
Same prize.
The premier sailing trophy of the world.
Change can feel daunting. Impossible until it's done. Progress doesn't ask for permission. It demands courage. This is how greatness survives. It evolves. Change isn't new in the America's Cup. It's tradition.
The world is very different now.
It defines us. And the next evolution, the America's Cup partnership, is here.
It's the pinnacle of innovation.
The future belongs to those who shape it.
A new chapter.
Welcome to the future.
I think that's the strangest damn video. I know what they're trying to say is they're trying to, for those of us who have not been too enthused about this innovation known as the America's Cup Partnership, which is completely against the deed of gift, but that's another issue. But the only real announcement they made there was the dates of the match, which are going to start the 10th of July, and they probably are going to be over by the 17th or 18th by the following weekend. And that, as one superfozy texted me here yesterday saying, well, it's actually, he was investigating all this. I won't say who it is, although most of you won't be surprised. It is actually worse for the Cup than I thought. In 2027, there is the Ocean Race, which starts in January and will run through July or August, for the start of which will be the start of the Louis Vuitton Cup and the match. Sail GP, which by then will probably have 15 teams competing and probably 15 events. That's next year in 2027, starting in January, running right through the year. And of course, as we talked, Peter, earlier, the Admiral's Cup, which will start mid-July, and the Fastnet race is at the same time as the match. And they talk about innovation, and after 175 years, we're not standing still in the America's Cup, but
haven't learned anything.
The crew numbers are shrinking.
Yeah.
And they're using old boats, not even new boats. And the pre-regattas, of which apparently there are only going to be two. There's one coming up here in Cagliari in Sardinia, in Italy, in May. And then there's going to be one other, apparently in Naples. And, you know, why don't we run the America's Cup? Why don't they run the America's Cup the way it was run, Peter, during the salad years, during the glory years, during the most successful period, which was the 30s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right up through the 90s even. Frio, still, most people think was the best event ever. What did we do? We had a world championship 1 year in advance in February of 1986. And then we had the match in 87. We were there October through February. And the summer of the Cup, same as for you in Newport in 1980. You spent the summer, June, July, August, had the trials, and then the winner of the Challenger trials raced the Defender, who in the meantime had won the Defense trials. Have we completely lost the plot, or am I wrong?
Well, Tom, it disappoints me greatly to see those clash of dates to start with. I didn't realise that till you put them up there. I mean, how the sport lets that happen, I don't know. It happens. But look, I think on the America's Cup, look, I marvel at the technology, the engineering, the design of the boats, the ability of the sailors to sail those boats. But to me, and a lot of my ilk, it is not the sailing that we know. And that disappoints me greatly. I mean, I'll go out on Sydney Harbour this afternoon on a beautiful summer's Saturday and watch the sailing there or sail there. And it bears no relevance
to whatsoever to 99% of those boats that are out there sailing today. You know, I would like to see them go back to mainsails and jibs that go up and down, and spinnakers and jibe and luffing matches and all of
his song.
You know, dial-ups at the start and dial-ups going downwind and jibing and jibe sets and all of that is the sailing that we know and that grew up with. And, you know, people say, well, you're a silly old F, whatever, but I don't care. I think that we've got away from sailing and the masses, you know, I'll watch the Cup, but, you know, two boats going so quick out to a corner and going bang and the race is over before it begins. And, you know, the skill of the helmsman is great. But, you know, last year we saw, I think, was it last year's cyclists? I can't even remember. The heads down, they don't even see the race. And,
that's great.
You know, I'm sure they were great world-class cyclists, but, you know, have they ever set a spinnaker? Have they ever jibed a boat with a spinnaker up? I don't know. And now they're being replaced by batteries. I mean, I think we've lost the plot a lot. And I think, you know, Sail GP has shown what foiling can do, and foiling's coming. There's no doubt about that. You know, Raven, we're going with that. We're seeing the Mockers, we're seeing the Moths. There's a place for foiling, but the America's Cup, it used to be a trickle-down sport. You know, what you learn from the America's Cup could come down to your club sailor. You know, you could learn something that they didn't, you know, 3-speed winches or something like that. There's none of that these days. And, you know, I'd love to see, you know, even don't have longer races they used to have in the America's Cup, where there's 3-hour races, but have the boats, you know, a displacement 70-footer or 75-footer or whatever, that go quick upwind and quick downwind and spinnakers and different jibs and have non-powered winches, you know, so you have coffee grinder guys there that are pushing away. But I think that's what the sport needs, and I think people just shake their head at the America's Cup. Where are we at? You know, we've got partnership agreements and I lose. You know, I follow yachting avidly and sailing, and I just can't get my head around the America's Cup. But to see those clash of dates, gee, that disappoints me. That really disappoints me. The America's Cup as it is. But I think that why there couldn't be some coordination in the dates. Obviously going to clash with things, but to clash with a big event like the Admiral's Cup that we've tried to revive and successfully did last year, to have that clash of dates, boy, that's disappointing. It really is.
And we haven't mentioned a host of others, including the pre-Olympics. There will be a pre-Olympic regatta in L.A., Long Beach, San Pedro, at the same time, and on and on and on. But now, Julia, you're our witness. Peter and I did not. I never asked him what he thought of the Cup. We've never discussed this. This is not a setup, right, Pete?
No, not at all.
He would have just quoted him.
But again, being an old timer, and we're going to get criticised for it, but that's okay. But, you know, I look now at the old 12 metres, for example, and you would know in America, of course, the revival there of those boats that have been beautifully restored.
And Europe, yes.
And I've been fortunate enough to race the last few years in the classic regattas in Europe. And to see those old 12 metres are just beautiful. What happens to the old America's Cup boats these days? You can't give it to your bloke next door and say, let's go. Wow.
I got it. Yeah, they go into the. You know where they go. Here, I hope there's nothing in here that's going to. They go into the bin, as you would call it, the bin.
Yeah. So there's no trickle down effect. I don't see, but.
No, we say it here on the show, Pete.
They're old timers, I guess, but to me, it's not the sailing that I know. And
well, you almost used the word fart. We're old farts, and we are, and admittedly so. But I think you are so correct. You go into any yacht club, and people say, "What's going on with the Cup? It's crazy. Batteries, old boats."
More likely, is there going to be a Cup this year?
And of course we don't know. Speaking of which, there's some more news here that came out of Wednesday, and this is Sir Ben's team, which various people tell me Ben still doesn't have a boat, and that he may be at Persico Marine right now. They may be having a mold being built of their old design, because remember, they can build a new boat, but it's got to be to the old design from the 2024 Cup. And they did announce that they've changed the name of the team to GB1. And they did announce the boat's going to be two-tone red and white. So they've got a new team name, a new livery, and the new skipper. And I think the skipper is fabulous news for the Brits. Sir Ben, apparently, and Ian Walker, they're putting Dylan Fletcher on as skipper. But a red boat, do you know the history, Peter? I'm sure you do, of red boats in the America's Cup?
I don't think they've been too successful.
Liberty,
back to Dennis.
Mariner,
Yeah.
and
Mariner.
Moro. The Kiwi red boat in 92, the little pointer here. I mean, you just got no red boats ever won, and I mean, they've just been a litany. So I don't know why anybody in their right mind, unless they are quite convinced that they can break that. Rick Banner says it's not red, it's saffron.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't use the word skipper, Alex Hayworth, but I used the word skipper because I think that's what he's going to
But
be.
he has been very impressive, Dylan Fletcher, in the Sail GP.
And beyond. Yeah, the guy's
I think,
terrific.
like Tom, just going back, I think you've got to marvel at the skill of the helmsman and the flight controllers of these America's Cup boats. I mean, the closing speed is extraordinary, and I mean, there's absolutely no room for error. So it is what it is, but you've got to certainly admire the way they Spinnakers going up and down, but you know, there's no sail. They don't adjust the sails much. They just sort of
They're always sailing close hauled upwind.
Yeah.
Up and down. Hey, one last slide, and then we'll let you go. You've been a good sport to be on with us for 2 hours plus the technical check. But here's a nice picture. Our mutual good friend, John Lammerts van Buren in the Netherlands, sent me and says that you are going to be the keynote speaker at you just mentioned it, Classic Yacht Symposium, the 13th edition, on the 28th of March. Peter will share the story of the Sydney to Hobart race, an iconic event defined by famous yachts, celebrated yachtsmen, and visionary designers. The regatta celebrates its 80th anniversary this year. He will also cover the Sydney Hobart Classic Regatta for boats built before 76 and has competed in the race previously. And you've done, as you just mentioned, a lot of classic yacht racing. Congratulations on doing that. I know Kayard's going to be there as well. Sounds like it's going to be a terrific event.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Scandinavia and got a bit of a holiday planned up there around that event. So it's very kind of John and his committee to invite me. And so I'm starting to do my homework on the classic boats that are raced in the Hobart, but I've also got to talk on the classic 18-footers as well. So I've got to do the 18-foot skiffs. So I've got a bit on my plate, but I'll be out there tomorrow afternoon commentating on the 18s. We've got another race tomorrow, and then we're leading up into the big championships in early March. So, yes, I'm looking forward to going to Helsinki. And
Helsinki's a great city. You enjoy it.
Julie and her late husband had a lot of friends in Helsinki, one in particular. And I'm half Norwegian, so I'm Scandinavian and have a soft spot in my heart for the Scandinavians as well. Well, this has been a great pleasure, a great privilege to have you on, Peter. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great rest of your Saturday and rest of your weekend. And can we do this again sometime?
Yeah, I'd love to, Tom. Thank you very much. But I just might mention it's Australia Day here on Monday, 26th of January.
Yes.
And we are conducting the world's oldest continually held regatta, sailing regatta. The Australia Day Cup Anniversary Regatta first started in 1837.
1837.
1837.
Before 1851, before the America's Cup.
That's right. That's right.
And the Auckland Regatta, which we're going to feature here at the end of the show, the Auckland Day Regatta started in 1840. So it's even older than that. Do you know that I have sailed, well, I haven't sailed, I've judged, I've umpired on your Australia Day weekend. Do you remember when Dennis and Ian had their 12-meter rematch after Frio? Was this in 88 or 89? I can't remember. I think it was in 88.
88, I think.
I think it was in January of 88 because the Cup in...
We were covering it for ABC television. We did a live coverage of that regatta.
Well, that was that was an astonishing event. I was there. I was pushing umpiring, as you know, at the time, Congressional Cup and so on, and wanted to use it in the America's Cup, and Dennis was not too keen, but others were. So I had Brian Willis, Joran Peterson, some top-notch people, Australians as well, and we were umpiring that Dennis Conner versus Ian Murray. It was the Kookaburra against Stars and Stripes in ostensibly a rematch of the 87 Cup in, I guess, January of 88. And you could literally, as you would remember having been there covering it for TV, you could walk across the harbor stepping on the decks of boats, bows of, I mean, it was just astonishing, the turnout for Australia Day. I guess in general it is on the water, but for that particular regatta, it was one of the most amazing events I've ever been involved in. Full stop.
It's a big day. It's our national day, and it's the weather looks as though it's going to be very good. So it's a special weekend for us. Yeah.
Good. Well, enjoy it, and thank you again for coming on. We so appreciate it.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to doing it down the track. So have a great weekend.
You promise?
Yes, promise.
I do. Okay. Have a break of promise.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Shippo. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Julia, that was a treat.
Oh, yes.
Needless to say, Peter Shipway.
Absolutely.
Who is our guest live via Zoom, obviously, from Sydney. He's got a full weekend ahead of him. The guy has more energy, I think, than the two of us combined, Julia.
I know at this point. Yeah, that's great.
Dolly DeVola says it was the 88 Bicentennial Regatta. He remembers it as well.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, doesn't Peter Stevenson now own the yacht Australia? He owns one of those 12s.
Yes.
And I think it was the 80 Cup boat Australia. I don't remember Peter. I don't see Pedro on, Pedro Foiling Sailor. Yeah, Blake, that really was a treat. And with that, let's carry on and wrap up the show. It's 15:02 here, but we can wrap this up in a few minutes. Julia, what happened on this day in history? 1795.
Oh, 1795.
You want a clue?
Yes.
There's a clue.
Oh, yeah. Trafalgar.
Well, not too far off. That corner of the world. It's an artist named Léon Morel Fatio. Fatio from France. Greg Phillips says he owns Gretel too, not Australia. Phil Burgess says, no, Peter owns it now. I don't know which one he owns. Somebody will tell us for sure. This painting, back to this day in history, one of the more bizarre accomplishments, if you call it, in naval cavalry warfare, a rare battle between ships and cavalry took place during the Napoleonic War of the First Coalition in 1795. Thierry de Jong's got it.
Oh, wow.
Well, he would know. He's Dutch. Amsterdam Frozen Fleet. How's that? A fleet of the Dutch Republic was frozen in ice between a 3 kilometer, 1.9 mile stretch of sea that separated the port of Den Helder from the island of Texel. A French cavalry regiment was able to surprise the Dutch fleet by storming across the sea and capturing the 14 warships, and with them 850 guns. What do you think of that? That's what happened on this day in history. The Dutch fleet was captured by the French cavalry.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Near the port of Den Helder, a rare instance of cavalry capturing a fleet. This day in history, 23 January, 1795. So Pedro does own Australia, KA-5, the boat from 1980. Okay, there we go. And then we'll go to John Emmett. He's on, I see he's in the chat now, which is good news because we have his report.
Yes.
Also coming via tape. I mean, it was recorded in Australia. And here's John Emmett with John Emmett's Coaching Corner for today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Another short John Emmett's Coaching Corner, although hopefully going to make the show live today, but famous last words. I try and attend a lots of meetings, whether it's clubs, classes, M&As, because I'm always keen to learn and actually to share good ideas, whatever the project. So one of the recent topics which came up in the AGM is how do we grow a class? But that could apply to a sailing club or any aspect of the sport. And this idea of a clear strategy, I think, is very important. If we look through history, it's not always the best product that wins. If we look at VHS or Betamax, for example, or what happened with Blu-ray discs, etc. It's that marketing and just the global reach. So I don't think we can sit back and say we have a wonderful product in sailing and just come and play, and then of course everyone's going to be hooked. Because of course the people we have at these meetings are keen sailors, and it's the people who are not sailing are those we need to reach out to. So I think we need to think how we can make sailing more accessible. As with just about everything in life, I guess the barriers are mainly time and money. But sailing, it's such a wonderful sport, but it's very easy for it to be in closed doors. So a lot of sailors will come from sailing families. And you know, there's a lot of names I'm recognising now from in the youth and junior fleet from 20 years ago in the senior fleet. But I think it's really important to think, how do we, you know, throw open the doors, both metaphorically and literally, of the sailing clubs, and get people from families who've never sailed before. And I think that's probably the most important thing, to get youth sailors, which is I keep sailing, is the future of the sport. And the same with parasailing and female sailing. We need leaders from those disciplines. So I'm trying to help with the Magenta project, but it's actually far better if it comes from those female leaders and role models, and the same with power. But yeah, again, rather than giving a solution, because I honestly don't think I know it, I'd be really interested to hear some of the suggestions for how to grow the sport, because like a container ship, it takes a long time to get up to full speed. So you really need to start thinking about it now. Don't wait for your sailing club to close or your class to stop. Let's always continually show how great sailing is. And on that note, sail fast, sail safe, keep having fun, and hopefully see you on the show.
John Emmett with his coaching corner, and reminding us as well that we're pushing hard for Paralympic sailing to be back in the Paralympics for Brisbane 2032. We've been talking about that for a year now, Julia, since our show number 805. What are we on today? 903. So for almost 100 shows, and we'll, with any luck, be back in the Paralympics, at least as a demonstration event, in 2032. That's John Emmett, John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. Thank you, John, for your regular reportage. And thanks again to Peter, which gets us to the last leg, Julia.
Yes.
And I like this segment a lot because, as we were talking about Monday, which is not only Australia Day, but it's also Auckland Anniversary Day, and they have a long-standing regatta this Monday. It returns with new features and record fleets. It dates to 1840. The Auckland Anniversary Day Regatta returns to the Waitemata this Monday, the 26th of January, marking 186 years since Aucklanders first gathered on the water to celebrate the city's birthday. First held, as I said, in 1840, on the day the province of Auckland was founded. The regatta is New Zealand's oldest sporting event and one of the longest-running maritime celebrations in the world. Over nearly 2 centuries, it has evolved alongside the city, growing from early rowing, paddling, and sailing contests into a harbor-wide spectacle. It's a festival. It's fabulous. That reflects Auckland's identity as the city of sails, including dragon boat racing. It has reached a new all-time high this year. Apparently, the regatta's dragon boat racing is set for its biggest year ever, with more than 40 local teams joined for the first time by 4 visiting crews from China, bringing total participation to over 500 paddlers. And it's in the viaduct right there where the America's Cup Harbor used to be. Out to the east, and the Kohimarama Yacht Club, they have a big junior regatta. This is a famously good junior club because they have that fabulous beach right there to the west of the club. And they will have the Auckland Opti and Starling Championships today and tomorrow. It's their Saturday down there. And again on Monday, I guess it's a 3-day regatta. Youth sailing is in focus at Kohimarama. The Optimist and Starling Auckland Championships, hosted by KYC, will once again incorporate the Auckland Anniversary Day Regatta. Hundreds of young sailors expected. The event highlights the regatta's role in fostering the next gen of sailing talent. And Julia?
Yes?
I have a video.
Oh, good.
As part of the Auckland Anniversary Regatta, we've got about 180 boats out there participating, and it's busy, but it's just so good.
Tugboat racing, Julia.
Okay.
And the classic yachts and the juniors. Fabulous event. Our old friend Dean Barker there. This was from last year, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The Auckland Anniversary Day Regatta. Nice video. I agree, Ed Worley. Terrific video. And Julia, that gets us to the D block, and the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. We'll wrap this up with just one. Apropos, what did Peter say? We were old farts. He's so correct. I did the math. A nursing home costs $300. It's more than that. $300 a day. Living aboard costs a lot less. So if I go missing,
check the marina.
Right?
Yes. Well, it is true. I did look into that.
What, living aboard?
Yes.
Why? You've got your apartment. You got the Commodore's suite here at the Beach Street Yacht Club.
I know, but at the time, at one time, I was thinking that cruising on
going on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And going around the world nonstop. Well, you are a cruiser, so you would
I
like
am.
that. You could. Why don't you do that? It's only a couple $100,000 a year.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, it's less than what you're paying to charter your jet.
I'd give up the jet.
That cartoon came courtesy of Clayton Embley and one of the Facebook pages. Steve Atkins says, "Yeah, a cruise ship. Get on the cruise ship. Be the permanent cruiser."
It is less. I on my cruising days, I did meet a couple of ladies who had spent their life cruising and sort of running the staff. Because
You'd be
they're all the
bored.
time.
You wouldn't be able to do the show.
Oh, sure I would.
You wouldn't be able to do the show.
I'd just do it from the ship. and have new personalities every day.
Well, that's true. But you'd have to do the show yourself then.
Why?
I'd be stuck here at the Beach Street Yacht Club while you're off on a world cruise. Also, Blake Middleton always submits for us this meme: all the smartest people sail. My father likes to remind us sailing isn't for everybody, but it is for anybody.
That's really nice to remember.
And Rick Banner says, "No, not the jet. Say it ain't so, Julia. We need the jet," which gets us to the finish line. And you like to say,
yes, please. Like, follow, and share. All three. Helps us a lot. And introduce people to great sailing.
It does. Comments are welcome in the replay. We leave the comments open, unlike most shows. Of course, most shows aren't even live, but that's another issue. And we appreciate also all of you who give us $1 or $2 or more per month to help keep us on the air so we can have our equipment, we can have our stream fees paid, we can have we don't pay our guests, but what a super guest.
Oh, he was.
Huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Sailing Illustrated, thank you very much for your support. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. We appreciate each and every one of you very much. And all of you in the chat, we appreciate the comments, the support, the correction, the corrections, and more. We also appreciate those of you who give us audio, video, and images for each of these shows. There's the long list for today of the contributors to this show. Julia, final thought?
Oh, so often the world seems to be falling apart at all kind of different levels these days, and this is a good way to look at bringing it back together.
Does this cheer you up coming to this show?
Yes, of course.
I hope so. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend, or rest of your weekend, wherever in the world you are. Join us next Tuesday, same time, same channel, and we'll do it again. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, have fun. Ciao for now.